The cloud. Okay. All right. What's up, guys? I am so effing excited to have this person on our podcast. I have to say, having this person on about maybe 2 months ago in our Facebook group, in the Men of Purpose Nutrition Facebook group, and Leading a Legacy, this person literally just boosted all of my engagement. There was like crickets for the longest time, and then all of a sudden I had her on talking about CBD and THC, and all of a sudden people just flooded in with conversations, and everyone was just asking questions, and it was really joyous because I got to see this person in her element, just giving, and especially with the times that we are in right now, I think I just want to give. And so I feel super excited for Matt and myself to have on Erin, Kenney. I don't even know what to call you. CBD, THC, nerd, like dietitian. You're amazing. So why don't I just have you introduce yourself? You'll do a much better job than I just did. And then we'll just start from there.
I don't know. I kind of like that introduction. I want to kind of like sit in that for a little while. All right. I'll refine it a little bit if I have to.
All right, fine.
First of all, I'm grateful. Amen to everything that you just said, especially given this time right now. So I am a registered dietitian, and I am also a holistic cannabis practitioner. So I specialize mostly in gut health, and, have a lot of sports nutrition clients as well. And I am very passionate about using alternative medicine and really healing people's gut health and kind of working from a root cause perspective. But overly passionate about, everything nutrition, especially the science aspect of it. So the term nerd is absolutely correct.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love food too. So that's also part of why I am here today.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I'm always interested too. And I don't know, Matt, if we've had conversations about this, what pushed us down this path of becoming a registered dietitian, because I can't tell you how often, it was National RD Day on Monday or one of the days. And I saw a really funny post that was like, shout out to all you people who have been called different things. And I've been called like a nutritionalist. I've been called smoothie bitch. And it dawned on me because I was like, oh my gosh, it would be really cool to start asking dietitians who come on the podcast, like, what interested you and what brought you down the path to doing what you're doing now? Because Matt, I think this might be something we just want to chime in as well, because I don't know if, Matt, I've known you for a while now. I don't know why you became a dietitian.
Yeah, man, we spoke on it, but honestly, the only reason why I became a dietitian was because they didn't have culinary arts at the school I went at to play football. So I was like, okay, what's the next best thing to do with food? And I seen diet in the word dietetics. I was like, I gotta deal with food. I'm choosing that, bro. That's literally what I said to myself.
Okay, I do remember that, because the reason why I fell into it is because I wanted to be a pediatrician, and then basic chem happened. I was like, well, I'm not going to get into med school with that C, so what's the next best thing?
But you took organic chemistry and biochemistry, so
I know, right?
You didn't make it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And then, but at the University of Arizona, the way that they had it, pre-med was the nutrition major. So it was like I fell into it, fell in love with it, and that was kind of how the story was written. So, Erin, for you, what got you interested, first of all, in nutrition, and then how have you gotten to a point where you are a what'd you call it? I'm so sorry, certified THC nerd, amazing person.
My stepdad calls me a drug dealer, which is like insulting. I come in at the holidays, and I've got my CBD oil for everybody. He goes, in my day, we used to call you a drug dealer. I'm like, listen, Joe, these are THC-free products, first of all. So let's get that clear.
Oh my God, I would totally watch your reality TV version of Weeds. I would watch that show.
Right.
Erin, all right. New show idea. No one better fucking take it.
All right. Forget a podcast or YouTube channel. That's what I'm going to do. Reality TV show. So how did I become interested? So a lot of it really does stem from, my own health issues, especially when it comes to GI health. So I grew up, from day one, I was really struggled with poor digestion. I wasn't able to be breastfed because I couldn't tolerate the breast milk. And just, from day one, I was always really struggling in that realm. And then grew up full-time athlete and was always really interested in, the athletic side of things, but my diet was horrible. I was eating like salt and vinegar tips for breakfast. And, I was showing up and I was crushing it on the field and I was able to perform. But, the biggest area where I feel is lacking was the mental health aspect of it. And, went through a really bad breakup and went through the whole, revenge body thing, and started eating really well and noticed, wow, like, my mental health really improved when I started eating better. My stomach issues also started improving when I started eating better. And, it took me a few years to get there, about, 20 something years to get there. But I realized the profound impact that nutrition had. And after being prescribed all kinds of medications, proton pump inhibitors, all these different things to control my symptoms, I came across CBD and was like, oh, wow, this is coming from a plant. It doesn't have all these nasty side effects of, you see those commercials like might die, might start bleeding from the eyes, like, 30 different things about,
Oh my gosh.
what
It's small fine print. It's small fine
anal
print.
discharge. Like what?
Don't worry about it. Trust me, you feel better though. Don't worry about it.
Hey, you're cool. Your blood sugars are better.
But at least your headaches are gone, right?
Right.
So, I came across CBD and it was pretty cool because it not only helped me with just general anxiety, it helped me with my digestive issues and, really helped me keep this better balance. And then my family members started using it, and I noticed there was a really big discrepancy in, okay, there's a really lot of poor quality things out there in the market. And specifically my poor grandfather, almost age 90, was buying it at a gas station, and I'm like, Papa, like, where did you get this? So I became a holistic cannabis practitioner because I saw the huge gap in the field. There was no dietitians really out there talking about this. Mm-hmm. And, as someone who is trusted and well-educated in research, I was like, I need to be out there, like, providing not only just to my family, but to my clients, a good quality product where they can feel safe taking it. And then also it can be a great supplement for some people that might benefit from having it when it comes to, digestive issues, pain, mental health, struggles, things like that. It really complements my practice well.
I can imagine too, because this is also off the heels of having this a similar conversation like we're having right now in that Facebook Live that we did. But Erin, I want, just for our listeners right now, and I know that this is a loaded question, so do your best with this.
Yeah.
So why is CBD important? Why do people need to learn about CBD? Because I know that there's a lot that tags into the endocannabinoid system and stuff like that. And so you can describe this in layman's terms way better than I can, and probably way better than Matt, because you're probably better than Matt.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is not my lane. This is why she's taking over. Yeah, this is not my lane at all whatsoever.
Hey, we need a co-pilot too, so I appreciate the support, Matt. Please feel free. So I don't even like to say that people need to know about CBD. Like, I would prefer to say people need to know about the endocannabinoid system, because knowing about CBD is great, but if you know that the endocannabinoid system is a natural part of your body, and a deficiency in that system can cause things like health issues, and, can lead to mental health and pain and, all types of issues. So we need to understand that CBD can interact with this system. That's very important. Mm-hmm. CBD, people should know about CBD as an option. So they should know that CBD is coming from plants. So phytoplant, phytocannabinoid. It comes from a plant. We have endocannabinoid, so something that comes from our body. So it's something that also is made naturally in the body that can also stimulate the same system. So I think understanding that as a whole is really important, because you have a safe alternative, generally safe. There's always some sort of, concern with anything turmeric, omega-3s, whatever, but it's a generally safe supplement and alternative to certain medications that people might be taking that are not something we should be putting in our body.
Yeah. And Matt, you can probably chime in on this a little bit too, because having worked at that elite athlete level, I got a lot of questions about it. And even with a lot of my clients now, I've completely switched from elite level athlete to more like dads and parents, where the same questions are still coming up. You know, is this safe for me to take? And, you know, Matt, I'll kind of let you take it away with things that you're hearing right now, just from an athlete perspective. But I think this is a really great topic. So, Matt, I knew you had a couple questions. I'll let you kind of take it away, but I think this is important.
And one of my primary questions was actually that how can you know the purity, the safety, the quality of actually what's going on with the product in itself, and not that it's just mixed with a product that may potentially have THC in there too. Because, you know, as you know, we have to abide by rules and banned substance regulations in the NCAA, and also in a professional setting. Can't have more than 0.3% just even tested. And I know that's a very small, trivial amount. So what is the best practice just even to observe? Now, I can't say that I can recommend, but also this is why you're here. So you can.
I can.
Give right. No, but this is why you're here. And this is why you both are here. So that way, this is just an informative conversation. So you can inform people, okay, what's the best way to see purity, quality, and you're not getting some BS product.
Some gas station product.
Exactly. Like, cause it's nothing but gas station products.
Yeah. I mean, I was actually personally sent a product to try by a company. This was like about a little over 2 years ago. And they sent me the product, and I'm sitting there in the kitchen and I'm eating my chicken, and I spilt over the bottle. Mind you, this stuff's not cheap, right? So, you know, they tell me it's a very low THC product. It's very, very much high in CBD. Like, you know, you're not going to get high off it, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sitting there and I dip the chicken in the oil, because I'm like, I'm not letting that go to waste. You know, that's the CBD oil. And, you know, 30 minutes go by, I start working, and I'm so high. Like, meanwhile, they're like, yeah, there's like no THC in it. It's very low, like minimal trace. Okay, well, that's not true.
That's the THC part, exactly.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And I ate the whole bag of chips.
Had nowhere to eat that day.
And wanted more.
So, you know, from a personal experience, you know, that's such a, like, you know, premature. That could have been such a worse situation, right? Someone could have been, you know, elderly. Someone could have been a young kid who, you know, that was lucky, right? So that was just a funny story that I can now tell. But, you know, making sure that a product is true to what it says it is. It's not contaminated with heavy metals. It's not mixed with something that's fake. It's not, you know, synthetic, which all can be very dangerous. The way to kind of, I have a couple different tips of how you can ensure that it's a good quality product. So the first thing is you should get to know the company that you're buying your CBD oil from. You should ask them questions about their growing practices, their lab testing. So every product that you should be having, and I don't mean just general product, I mean every individual batch of that oil that you're getting in the mail should be lab tested. And they should be able to ask them, could you please send me the certificate of analysis, the COA? So write that company an email. Hey, send me the COA for this oil. You know, I want to see that this batch, the bottle was actually tested and there's no THC in it. And I want to see that it's been tested for molds and heavy metals. That's standard practice in the cannabis industry nowadays. It's unusual if a company will not have that information on their lab test for you to view accessible easily. So that's the biggest thing, is that lab test. And then you want you want the cannabis oil or the hemp oil to be derived from somewhere in the US. You want it to be grown organically so that there's no pesticide use. And, you know, there's no solvents being used that are going to be toxic to the body. And then just like any food ingredient, you know, what's on the label? Are they adding propylene glycol to it? Are they adding, you know, artificial sweeteners or flavorings, or are you getting gummies that have, you know, red number 40 in them? So we want to also keep in mind that you also want to look at what else is in there besides just the cannabinoids.
Now, is the certificate of analysis, is that more something like a third-party testing? Because you know how we do, if we do recommend supplementation with athletes in a sense, NSF for Sport certified, BCSG, Banned Substance Control Group, BSCG, sorry. Is that the third-party testing that comes about with that, in a sense, in that form?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Got you. Okay.
And Matt, thank you for asking that, because that's a really great question. Erin, can you educate, a lot of our listeners and really us too, in addition to that, on the spectrum? I remember for a while back we talked about the spectrum and what to look for, because like I said, you blew up my Facebook group with questions, and I have a one of my best friends actually does peanut butter and CBD, and so he was like, Des, ask this, and I was like, oh my God, I haven't talked to you in like a month. Leave me alone. But this was one of the questions, and I thought that it was really great. So can you break down for us I guess the word spectrum and what that means and what that could mean for the potential consumer who is not an elite level athlete and has to go by those standards and certifications?
Yes, absolutely. So I never actually used this analogy, but I like to use, I'm a very visual learner. And so when I describe things, I like to use little things like this. So think of a rainbow, right? So you've got a rainbow, you've got all the colors of the rainbow. The rainbow is much prettier, let's pretend, with all the colors of the rainbow. So think of that as like broad concept. So you've got 3 different ways that you can purchase a CBD product. You can get the isolate, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's just isolated CBD alone. And then you move up to a broad spectrum product. So broad spectrum typically is going to be more cannabinoids than just the CBD. So it might have CBG, it might have CBN, it might have THCA, but it's usually, THCA is non-psychoactive. So it usually has everything but the THC. So everything but the things that are going to make you feel that high sensation. And then we go up to the next level, which is full spectrum. So full spectrum, think of the rainbow. The rainbow is like, we've got all the colors of the rainbow, and usually we want that, right? So if you think about it from like a food source, you want all of the benefits of the rainbow coming in, or of the food coming in and eliciting that response in the body from the synergistic effect, if you will. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So isolate.
Well, to us it does.
Yeah. So isolate, the most simple form, and in my opinion, and based on the research, pretty ineffective. This is the form you're going to find in most products out there. When you buy a fancy water, or when you're getting a smoothie and they charge $7 extra for it, they're likely using an isolate. So you're not going to get the real benefits from a CBD isolate. Broad spectrum, best option to get if you want to avoid the THC. Just make sure it's THC free. Full spectrum, if it's less than 0.03%, I'd say, yeah, absolutely. Why not? You get the plant in the way that nature intended. That's great, especially when it comes to pain relief. That can really help getting even just that small amount of the THC in there.
Okay, so for our listeners right now, as us 3 nerds, really food nerds, are talking about this. So the term synergy, if we're going with the aspect of the rainbow and things like that, just getting a visual, it's kind of like getting a bigger net and throwing out for bigger nutrients when we try to talk about variety of colors and variety of foods for nutrients. So essentially it's just a bigger net that you throw out that you can acquire more nutrients, or in this case, better benefits and better absorption. Is that correct?
I love how you actually pulled the rainbow back in, because I just like threw a rainbow out there and then just left it there. So thank you.
Well, in my mind, it was like, oh, that's a really beautiful rainbow. So that makes total sense to me. So I'm glad, especially for our listeners. I hope that makes sense. And if it doesn't, then you just don't understand. Whatever.
Or you can reach out to me and I can clarify. I'll use better analogies and compare it to something that might be more familiar with you.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So Erin,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Matt. You had one.
Yeah, I was about to ask. So what complications and conditions, as far as like just even based on those spectrums too, is there a difference one? And also, is there particular things that you've seen in your research or just seen personally that it has supported as far as benefit wise and anything like that?
Yeah. So the first question, I just want to make sure I answer every part.
You
were wondering about like contraindication. So like who should be careful with CBD? Is that right?
Yes, that's part of it.
Okay. So the first part, So, with anything, like I said, if you're taking turmeric, if you're taking omega-3s, like if you're on other medications, you should always be careful with those medications. So you want to monitor, because CBD it uses the enzyme, the cytochrome P450 enzyme, which I know we're familiar with. It's that enzyme that our liver has that basically metabolizes drugs. So you have this enzyme and it breaks down CBD, but it also breaks down our drugs. So imagine if it can only do one at a time, and you're taking a drug for, depression or high blood pressure or what have you, it might be more or less effective because that enzyme is also going to be breaking down CBD. So keep in mind, if you're taking any sort of medication, to just monitor any sort of side effects, maybe less effectiveness, or maybe you need to dose down on a medication if you're combining it with CBD. So that's number one. Number two, there's some side effects that have been found in the research, nausea, diarrhea, dizziness, any sort of weird side effect that it can definitely happen. It's happened before, and always be careful, especially with dosing. I always say start with the lowest possible dose and work your way up, because too much of anything is never a good thing. We know that, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
So does that answer the first question?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Now, second question was, okay, remind me again.
The health conditions that you've seen that it can benefit.
Yeah. So the top ones that I've seen is, first and foremost, would be anxiety and depression, like mental health, that the anxiety, depression, and focus. And then insomnia, sleep. It's a big help for sleep. Some people find that it really helps with not only just improving, the ease of falling asleep, but the quality that they get in the middle of the night. Pain, depending on where the pain is stemming from. So if you're someone who pain that's as a result of some sort of inflammation, especially as it pertains to gut health. So inflammation, gut health, digestion, those are really the top conditions that I see it and use it for in my practice, and that I've seen it used for in research. And then, of course, epilepsy, if we talk about research, that's originally what it's intended for, and what it was, is why we kind of honed in on all this research, was because it's being used in children who have epilepsy.
So, Erin, I wanted to ask you. I probably should have asked before we started talking about who it's best for, and I will definitely revisit that.
Mm-hmm.
So, when you get these CBD products that are in like baked goods or in gummies or anything like that, does that change the spectrum? Does that change the validity of what you were talking about earlier?
Yeah, and so keeping in mind that there's different ways to administer these products, right? So you could vape it, you could take a tincture, you could take an edible. And the reason why the edibles, the baked goods, things like that are not the most effective way to take it in terms of absorption is because they have to go through the whole digestive system. And that's, depending on the person, that could be a very inefficient process of absorption. So I always recommend doing my first line is a tincture. I always say, go for the tincture. I'm not a big fan of doing vape products in general, or, vaping something into the lungs. So a tincture is my favorite way. If you're looking for more localized, I would say go for like a cream. And the edibles, they're more so just glorified ways of consuming, unless you're doing like a water soluble product, which is actually something that I'm adding to my line. A water soluble product is actually, they've created these emulsions that allow for maximal absorption through the digestive process. Like they're basically kind of attached to these fat molecules, and they've designed it in a way where it actually is an efficient process. But most of the products that you're finding out there, those edibles and gummies and whatever they are selling at these places, are usually less effective, and you're going to want to stick with like a tincture.
Okay.
Now, what is a tincture? Could you speak on that more? What exactly is a tincture?
So a tincture is,
I was just reading mine too, like right now.
Yeah. So a tincture is, it's going to look like, it's basically an oil. So to the individual who's looking at a shelf, it's going to be in a container where it looks like oil. It's got a little, syringe looking thing at the top. You're going to take a little pipette, you're going to take it, you're going to squeeze it, you're going to put it into your mouth. under your tongue, hold it there for 60 seconds because that actual absorption is happening in the thin layer in your mouth. And then you swallow after that 60 seconds and let the rest go through the digestive process.
Okay. Interesting.
And a lot of these products will be flavored. They'll be, they'll have stevia in them. They'll have this, that. So I always say, look for a product that has minimal ingredients. So, my product, for instance, it's olive oil and hemp. So it's very simple. There's no added ingredients. If it's flavored, it's coming from a peppermint oil. It's not natural flavorings. It's not stevia. It's not. So keep in mind the other products. I know I mentioned that earlier as well.
Yeah, as I'm even, we were pulling up our tinctures, I pulled up mine as well. And so I'm looking up at my active ingredients, and it's phytocannabinoid rich hemp oil. And then your inactive is medium chain triglycerides.
And that's a great oil. It's a great carrier oil.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So no, that's good to know. Because when I was first just trying, because for me, I'm taking it more so overall for the stress relief and the brain health. Like those are the things that I've heard a lot about. And so I think the first thing that comes to mind with a lot of our listeners, people who have thankfully reached out, and for our listeners right now, please feel free to hit us up via email. We'll make sure we put that in the show notes. If you have questions, if you have things that you want to see, we definitely want to make sure that we are creating content that you care about. But I've had a lot of people ask questions about things like this. And I feel like for the young professional, someone who is maybe starting to emphasize and understand the role of stress in their productivity and possibly just the benefits of brain health. Can you speak on that at all, Erin?
Yeah, I mean, the benefits of brain health are numerous. I think, just it depends on, kind of what angle we want to take it. And I get a lot of questions about what about with anxiety or sleep so it depends on the mechanism, right? So it depends on, is it targeting these receptors that are involved with inflammation? Because if we have inflammation going on in the receptors that are in the brain, that's not optimal for brain health. That's not optimal for, neuroplasticity and all the things that we call brain health. So I think just looking overall at kind of how it's working at these different receptors, some of which we have in our brain. And so that's the most direct way is that we've got these receptors in the brain. And, when we take these CBD and cannabinoid rich products, they're interacting, not binding, but they're interacting with these receptors in our body, in our brain that are eliciting these positive results. And the way that cannabis works in general and CBD is that it's not a miracle drug that's going to improve your brain health in a sense of you're going to now become, smarter or, sharper than you were before. It's going to bring you back to homeostasis. So what does homeostasis mean? It means bring you back to balance, right?
Good job.
So that's why CBD is not some miracle thing, because it's bringing this system in our body that should be functioning optimally back to balance. And that's essentially what it's going to do for your brain health, your, overall health in general.
Yeah, overall, it sounds like that actually can help as far as benefit, even be not even a nootropic, but actually a nootropic if you think about it, because the longer you're in homeostasis, the less stress that is accumulated, the more that you're able to have memory and cognitive function and things like that too. Because you set those receptors and everything that work in there that, if you think about it, that's that counteracting mechanism or function that happens.
Yeah,
that occurs, that'll help with that.
Yeah, I love, people will take all these fancy pre-workout things like that. I get a nice little dose of my CBD oil and a little tea, and I'm good to go. I am focused. I am sharp. My workout is lasered in.
Ooh, I like that. I'm gonna have to try that.
Yeah.
I usually do it the first thing in the morning. That's just part of my morning routine.
Yeah.
I like that though. So, Erin, and this is just a question that I have, or something that I've heard other parents experience, and some parents are a bit more liberal than others, and that's okay. And whatever your fancy is, I support it. Whatever works for you, great, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it safe to be administered to children? Because I think the thing that I continually hear about is ADHD, or the things that I continually hear about is just quality of rest. So I don't know. I kind of defer to you in these cases where it's like, I got someone you can contact.
Yeah. And this is a great question. And I also get questions a lot about female health and pregnancy and in these very vulnerable populations where it's like, I'm sure you guys can relate as parents, God forbid ever as you did something or recommended something or allowed your child to take something that could have caused any sort of harm. And so I put on my, my babysitter cap or whatever, because I don't have any kids. But I love kids. And so, when I think of this situation, there's not enough research in areas of especially growing kid or, growing a baby that we can say, oh yeah, take it for your kid. No big deal. And I work with parents on this. I have calls with them and, walk them through my concerns, the research that I know of, and then they make an educated decision. But when I put my RD cap on, I say, okay, well, can we address it from a dietary perspective as well? So remembering that our body naturally creates these endocannabinoids. And so what else activates this endocannabinoid system? Okay, well, chocolate. So we love chocolate. A healthy ratio of fatty acids, so omega-3s. So if we're getting our omega-3s, that's also going to it's going to activate the endocannabinoid system. Meditation, all of these practices that are something that we know are much safer than the research that we don't have when it comes to cannabis. So I also like to bring that into the discussion as well. But I have plenty of parents who I work with who give it to their children, and they've seen, incredible benefits, but there's that big disclaimer of we just don't know. We don't have enough research to make that recommendation. It's so new and it's continuing to grow. And so it's going to be a personal decision and, one that you're going to have to make as a parent on your own.
Hey, I love that answer.
Yeah, that's an amazing answer.
That's an amazing practitioner right there. Absolutely.
That's what I'm saying, because that brings up a whole nother topic, which I'm sure we could talk about for another 60 minutes. But it's what I oftentimes find, even during the chat that we had, I had a lot of questions come in, and then I would ask further questions like, okay, cool. Tell me about your sleep. Tell me about this. Like, oh, sleep is shit. Or like, oh, like, dude, I go out all the time. And to me, this very much seems like, hey, this could supplement your success in a couple of different areas if you emphasize these pillars that we all know, right, about health. And so, Erin, you mentioned this a little bit, and I want you to expand on it. So what are some of the natural ways, behavioral things that people can do to boost their endocannabinoid system?
So my favorite one is meditation. Meditation right there.
Just did that right before we started. I loved it.
There you go. So meditation, doing activities that you really enjoy. So, I don't like to say exercise because some people just really don't enjoy the act of, going to the gym or doing a boxing class. Like, so when I say doing activities you enjoy, singing, dancing, maybe it is going and crushing a long run or a workout, like, doing something that truly brings you joy, that runner's high, all in your endocannabinoid system. Chocolate. I mean, I could talk about chocolate all day. Like, chocolate's great. So making sure you're getting a product that's, not that sugar laden, soy added chocolate. We're talking really cacao that is, Dutch processed or, just no additives to it, really high quality cacao, greater than 70% is usually my recommendation. That's the good stuff, right?
No,
Absolutely.
yeah. So if we can make a small transition from CBD to now THC, I know that, I can't call anyone out because there might be a point where I might return. So I'm just going to keep my mouth shut on the details. But from what I understand, most elite level athletes engage in any type of THC product. Administration is variable, right? So I know that they don't have a great deal to my knowledge, at least. And if you guys know this, please check me. There isn't a whole lot of testing that goes on. It's kind of like don't talk about it type of thing, like whatever. Are there benefits to an athlete, right? Are there benefits to the normal person that's getting back in the gym to the use of THC?
So if we're talking about a product that is 0.03%. It's really in trace amounts. When we see that synergy effect, that whole plant effect, the benefits are definitely enhanced when you have everything there. When you add too much THC in there to the point where it's overpowering the other cannabinoids, which is with a lot of the products that you see that people buy when they're really looking to get high, then that's when we start to see this curve go down on the benefit side of things. And we see people starting to, feel more tired and lethargic and maybe less motivated. And maybe they, start to get those munchies and their food choices become less optimal. So in the right amounts, it can be beneficial. Is it necessary? Now that's the biggest thing is, okay, if we don't want the THC and we don't need it, can we just go for a broad spectrum product and see all the benefits, especially when it comes to, inflammation, recovery time, focus, things that an athlete can really give them that that edge, that advantage. We can see that without the THC, but that whole plant I would say is really optimal if we're getting it in the right amounts.
Okay, so what is too much THC? What is that considered going from beneficial to just staying high?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the thing is too, is it's so individualized. When
it depends.
Yeah, it depends. I hate saying that, but with nutrition, as you guys know, like that's always the answer. Well, it depends. And it does depend. It depends on the person. It depends on the endocannabinoid system. But when you have a product that is very low in THC, and so you guys can share this with anybody who's a recreational user, whatever. But when you, like, if someone were to take a THC product and get like totally stoned and be like freaking out, whatever, the way that you could counteract that and kind of mitigate those symptoms is you would take a CBD product. And the reason for that is because it kind of buffers it and it evens out and it brings your body back to balance, right? So when you have a really high ratio of a CBD to a THC product, which is always what I would recommend if anybody's looking for the true health benefits, is that when you get that higher levels of the CBD, then you're less likely to get those, that stoner kind of stereotypical side effect of that, drowsiness or this or that. So looking at the ratio and the milligrams of on that label, okay, like I'd say like a 5-to-1, meaning 5 would be the CBD, 1 would be the THC. So you've really got a high ratio of the CBD. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And jokingly, for our listeners, you heard it here first from Erin Kenney. If you get too high, take some CBD.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I can preach. I've been a reckless teenager before, so I've been there, and I wish that I had that tool in my toolbox because not a pleasant experience. So
and you dipped your chip into something that punched you in the face. So
yeah, and that was not warranted. I was like, oh my gosh, but what did I do? I took some CBD.
Yeah.
So, benefits of being a holistic cannabis practitioner.
I know. So Erin, what are your thoughts? And I asked you this last time. I really loved your answer. And I would just like you to just repeat it, for our listeners here. I'm a bit more liberal on the side of my beliefs around this topic.
Mm-hmm.
And so what do you say to someone who has their information coming from from a place of fear, from a place of hysteria? I mean, for our recording right now, and we're going to probably launch this in the next 1 or 2 weeks, like the whole coronavirus thing has just launched and sports are shut down. So the topic of hysteria has come up for me. What do you say to someone who has questions about it, who has maybe heard some things that maybe are not factual? Where can they go? Where is substantial information? How do you approach that?
Well, I I don't remember what my answer was the first time, but, hopefully I can, kind of cross over there. Find really a great, and I'm offering myself up when I say that, use a resource of someone who is, educated in the field, who has a non-dogmatic approach. If you go to someone's page or you find information that says, cannabis cures cancer, like that, you run away. Find someone who you can trust, who's an expert in the field, and just learn about it. Just learn. Education is power, right? So you don't need to have an open mind with the ultimate goal of saying, okay, I'm going to take this product or try this product, but know that it's an option and that it's something that you could have in your health toolbox. Just have that information and gain that knowledge on it, and then make a decision based on your morals. You know, there's no reason that you should feel like you have to have this as part of your lifestyle. Like I said, there's several things you can do to, you know, activate that endocrine system. It's just, you know, it's all about education and really getting a good quality product.
Yeah, thank you so much. And you know, this kind of leads us into you know, our last couple questions for you. And again, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy night, your quarantine right now, as you said.
This is fun for me. Are you kidding me? I love you guys.
Yeah. So thank you so much. So this transition in the next question, because anytime that an athlete outside of the elite level sport, just someone who is looking to, you know, experience better performance, better recovery, and dads or parents that have asked me, like, when they talk about like, hey, who should I be going to for this, I always point them in your direction. So Erin, where can people find you? I feel like your knowledge base, I mean, we didn't even tackle the gut health stuff, which I think we'll have to definitely do in episode 2 of this. But where can people find you? Where are you most active at? And I also understand too that you have your own formulation as well. So I want to give you the floor, because you, my friend, are amazing.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for that. So you can find me at nutritionrewired.com. That's my website. But I'm also very active on Instagram, and my Instagram handle is Nutrition Rewired. And my CBD oil products are all lab tested and certified. They're all THC free, but they're broad spectrum. You know, I don't care if anybody buys my product. I care more that you come to me and you are at least directed on whether the product that you want to purchase is correct. I offer a free discovery call for anybody that has any questions about cannabis, or, you know, concerns, or needs education or resources or anything. So, you know, do yourself a favor, book a discovery call with me if you have any questions related to cannabis and gut health, or, you know, both or just one individually. And yeah, I'm happy to have a dialogue there, because I'm really passionate about getting good quality products into people's hands, and also getting really good education.
Yeah, and we'll definitely make sure we put those in the show notes. Matt has been our show notes extraordinaire, because I don't like taking them.
It's all good, man. It's all good. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So Matt, I'll let you ask our last question, our playful question. Go ahead, man.
All right. So if you were in a food fight, what is the first thing you're throwing to start it up?
Oh boy, I don't even remember what my answer was for this last time. So this gives me like a whole new, I'm going to attack it from like a different angle. I'm like looking at my kitchen right now, like, what do I have? If I were to start a food fight, what would it be? I might go with a potato. I'm looking at a potato right now.
Oh,
that
God.
thing looks like it could
Oh my God.
Damage, right?
Oh my.
Look at Matt's face.
I said a steak. Now I know that was going to be damaged, but you said a potato. That is going to cause.
Wait, I was just more astonished at the potato thing. I didn't even hear if it was cooked or raw. What did you say?
Oh yeah, I should have clarified.
She didn't. She just said potato.
Let's just keep it at that. I don't want you to.
All right, yeah, let's leave it for the imagination. And it's also a Japanese white one. It's a Japanese white one.
Oh my God.
See, I honestly thought that she was going to go with a brownie or something like that, because based on the topic, like, we're going to go with brownies.
Brownies, edibles.
Right, gummies,
Also grew up being just like completely and utterly obsessed with potatoes, and especially mashed potatoes. So I don't know.
Wait, do you know why?
I think it's honestly that I love carbs. I love carbs, especially starchy ones. And in college, I would toast bread and just eat plain bread like all the time.
Oh man.
You put anything on it?
No, like literally, like, and I would be fine if something was on it, but my roommates would be like, ooh, something smells so good. Like, what are you making? Toasted bread.
Toasted bread, no butter, no jelly, nothing, just bread.
Crisp. And I really do think it stems from my digestive issues because I always gravitated towards like more bland, starchy foods, and those were the ones that really sat well with me. So hashtag I love carbs.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Fuel your body. I love it. Well, Erin, thank you so much. My gosh, we will definitely do a part 2. I don't know.
Got to. I didn't get to ask my
I love
questions.
talking to you. I think
Yeah.
that you're such a wealth of knowledge and a really great friend. I'm so glad that we just randomly out of nowhere met up in Philly this last Fancy. So, wait, where's the next one? Does anyone know?
I don't know.
Oh, it's in I want to Seattle. No, it's not in Seattle. Pennsylvania. I think it's in Pennsylvania.
Wasn't it just in Philly though?
Yes.
So they'll
Are
do
you doing
another
it
one
again
in
in Philly?
Pennsylvania?
No. That's
Is it in Boston where you're at?
It's not in Boston because it was here like a few years ago. No, 2 or 3 years ago, it was already here.
Oh,
That'd be
That would've
badass if
been
they
perfect,
did
right?
Phoenix or
Would've-
Scottsdale.
Yeah,
So I don't have to travel across the effing nation.
that's.
I still haven't been to Fancy yet.
You better come
Oh.
next time because we would have so much fun.
Yeah, it's
I'll
literally
make that.
just
We just
yeah.
go
I mean,
the social life.
exactly. I think I went to a couple like classes. It's all the same
sure.
stuff though. So it's literally just like,
Yeah.
hey, so and so, I don't know you, but I see you on Instagram every single day. You want to get a drink? Oh, hell yeah! Like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
And
All right.
Desi and I never would have, connected in person if it weren't for that. And I'm so grateful for that. So
Yeah, me too. Well, Erin, we will let you I don't know, go be social and go be a person in Boston. as she looks around just like by myself, man. With her tea. With her CBD tea. Yeah, thank you so much for taking some time in your Friday. Like I said, we will have an episode 2 of this for sure, because I'm sure
right.
Matt and I will be talking about this a little bit more. But thanks for taking some time for us. I appreciate you.
It was my pleasure.
All right, I'm going to stop the recording.